Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Gunman killed by licensed firearm holder at Manville bar. A licensed firearm holder fatally shot one of the gunmen who held up a bar at Nashville in Manville on Thursday night. Police report that about 11:10 p.m., two men entered the bar and one of them ordered a drink. One of the gunmen then pulled a firearm and attempted to rob the bartender. The licensed firearm holder intervened and challenged the men. Following the gunfire, one of the men was seen suffering from gunshot wounds. The police were alerted and he was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The identity of the deceased has not yet been ascertained. His accomplice managed to escape. Police said a 9mm pistol with a magazine containing 9mm rounds of ammunition was seized. Alleged robber flees leaving weapon after shootout with cops in Old Harbor. The St. Catherine South Police seized one firearm and 8 rounds of ammunition following a shooting incident in Old Harbor, St. Catherine on Thursday. Reports from the Old Harbor Police are that about 12 midday, persons visited the Old Harbor Police Station to make a report of a robbery which allegedly took place on a minibus. During the process of making the report, one of the complainants saw the alleged robber walking by the station. In a bid to capture the perpetrator, the police team reportedly approached the man, who pulled a firearm from his waistband and opened fire at the cops. The fire was returned and the gunman dropped the firearm and ran. One Smith and Western Springfield 9mm pistol with a magazine containing 8 9mm rounds of ammunition was retrieved from the scene. The policemen escaped injuries from their attacker and no one else was injured. No arrest was made in relation to the incident. Investigations continue. Commanding Officer for St. James SSP Vernon Ellis explains the strategies being implemented, the ongoing public order restoration taking place in Montego Bay.
So we started out with the basic in terms of looking at the levels of public disorder, the illegal vending, the satellite taxi operators, cash or goal operators, a lot of issues that would lead to public disorder. We are actually at a stage now where we are getting a high level of compliance. We are getting persons to adhere to the rule of law. We are bringing to bear the multi-agency approach. So, for example, the Transport Authority that they are with us, they are getting persons to regularize. The persons from the Ministry of Health, they too, they are doing some work around what we're having in here. The municipal cooperation is pretty much shouldering what they should do in terms of enforcing the municipal rules. What we're doing though, we're seeking to have the space properly regulated. The issue that we're having, and when you have this type of disorder, even if something takes place inside of the township, it's hard to respond with the effective time that we'd want for it to respond. We also realize too that where you're having challenges with crime, where you have some simple things that are happening that no one is paying attention to, a lot of other things will follow. So pretty much it's a zero tolerance approach to restoring public order. The citizens store surprise, they've welcomed it. You know, the business community, they are supportive of it. And the vendors themselves, they are very cooperative. All they want now is to be regulated and to be placed in proper spaces and to have the necessary sanitary convenience. This morning we saw tourists walking around in the township, something that we never really saw before. We're getting overwhelming feedback from business community, different levels of private sector, public sector, you know, people passing, giving us thumbs up, you know, saying that they appreciate it. All of them, though, their biggest concern is how we will sustain this type of operation. We're trying now at the management level and, you know, requesting more support to build some depth in sustaining this operation. The reality is 2 weeks or 3 months won't lead to that significant change. So we're looking at sustaining the operation beyond 90 days. We're also looking at how we can, in the meantime, through the multi-agency approach, teach persons to self-regulate so actually we can scale down the number of officers. We're bringing in some force multipliers like surveillance units and mobile police station for the township itself. So when those elements are put in, which they should come in within the next 14 days, they will see some significant transformation of the space. So we're getting support from like TPD and some other agencies to regulate persons. We're getting color code bits for them through these agencies. We're getting alphanumeric codes for their bibs and the lanes that they'll operate. So we're getting the parish council to regularize persons. What's happening is it's a free-for-all. So everybody comes in and spread out, does their vending, etc. So the vendors are excited, as you say, because one, they are seeing some ownership to what's going on. They are feeling a part of it. There is an inclusive nature in the type of enforcement that we're doing.
Bunting says Jamaican people in crisis. Opposition spokesman on national security Peter Bunting says the people of Jamaica are in crisis. He points to the many professionals leaving the country seeking better opportunities overseas. According to Mr. Bunting, these persons are looking out for their families.
The teachers are abandoning schools in droves, not because they wouldn't want to stay, but the conditions that they're being asked to serve under, they cannot sacrifice their own families for that. You saw the release that we're number 2 in the world in terms of the brain drain. So it's not just the teachers, it's the nurses, it's the police officers, it's the graduates of UWI, the graduates of NCU, the graduates of UTech. Some of the most entrepreneurial people will be the ones who are also leaving. Don't blame them. They are not cowards. They are looking out for their families to whom they have the first responsibility. And when you come to the garbage all over Manchester, months sometimes not being collected, all over Jamaica, when I hear labor right and lick out, so Mr. Siaga totally in grave. Because if it's one thing we tried out was with the introduction of MPM, keep the place clean, then you know that we are in a bad way. But it's at times like these that the people of Jamaica have always turned to the People's National Party for leadership. And I know when the time comes, the people will do the right thing. It is those who work on 6-month contracts for 20 years straight that don't have any of the protections of the labor legislation that Michael Manville put in, that need the People's National Party to speak out. It is the small farmers in northeast Manchester, in fact all over Manchester and St. Elizabeth and Trelawney and Clarendon, who pay $15,000 plus for a bag of fertilizer that need the PNP to speak on their behalf. And there is nothing that's going to deter us from doing that. Nothing.
Bahamas Ganja farm lands 6 Jamaican men in prison for 36 months. 6 Jamaican men on Thursday were sentenced to 2.5 years in prison in the Bahamas for the cultivation of more than 4 acres of ganja in the country. On Sunday, narcotics police reportedly arrested Leroy Douglas, Walford Reed, Jermaine Jones, Devon Simpson, Bruce Palmer and Everton Palmer after conducting 2 days of surveillance on the farm in North Andros. The men subsequently pleaded guilty to conspiracy to possess dangerous drugs with intent to supply, possession of dangerous drugs, and cultivation of dangerous drugs in relation to the 4-acre ganja farm that reportedly had 25,000 plants and 20,000 seedlings. The ganja had a street value of US $2.5 million, police stated. Magistrate Samuel McKinley handed down concurrent sentences of 2.5 years on each count to the men. Additionally, the convicted men who had no legal representation in court were given the option of paying a US $7,500 fine or spending an additional 6 months in prison. The men also pleaded guilty to drug possession in relation to seizure of the 4 grams of ganja that police found while searching their home with each fined $250 or a month in prison. BOJ says Jamaica's economy continues to perform credibly despite global challenges. The Bank of Jamaica BOJ says Jamaica's economy continues to perform credibly despite challenges in the global sector. Speaking at a press conference on Friday morning, BOJ Governor Richard Blythe noted that the economy expanded strongly in the June 2022 quarter. He said unemployment continues to fall, which is a good sign for the economy. Governor Blythe said he expected GDP growth to continue to be driven by tourism and agriculture.
We can say that the economy continues to perform creditably. There are signs that the economy expanded strongly in the June 22 quarter, and so far the same in the September 22 quarter. The labor market has also continued its exceptional performance. At April 2022, the unemployment rate fell to a historic low of 6%. For the fiscal year 2022-23, the bank projects real GDP growth in a range of 2.5% to 4.5% and in a range of 1% to 3% for the financial year 23-24. The bank expects that GDP growth will continue to be driven by the services industry, particularly tourism. There has also been some buoyancy in the agricultural sector, which is expected to continue as the tourism sector recovers and weather conditions remain favorable. The rest of the growth forecasts are skewed to the downside, however, suggesting the possibility of slower growth. Growth in tourist arrivals and related activities could be lower than projected, given strong headwinds to global growth, tighter financial conditions, and ongoing geopolitical tensions. More severe weather in the context of climate change also poses a downside risk to GDP growth. Finally, there is a risk that domestic consumption could be adversely affected by the high, albeit falling, domestic inflation.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell